JNF-USA, and I'm stepping in for our president, Dr. Saul Lizerbrand, who is currently in Florida taking part in JNF-USA's Winter Connection activities, which brings together over 2,500 supporters of our critical work in Israel. Whether at our signature brunch event or our legacy giving luncheon series featuring Ambassador Michael Oren, we are grateful to gather with fellow committed Zionists who proudly stand with us, with Israel. Our guest today is Eylon Levy, Israeli government spokesman. Eylon is a former international media advisor to the President of Israel and former TV news anchor. Born and raised in the UK, he studied at the University of Oxford and Cambridge before making Aliyah and serving in the IDF. Eylon, we are honored to have you with us today, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming and joining this briefing. I wanted to join because I know all the important work that you're doing at JNF for supporting Israel, not just since October 7th, but especially since October 7th. So I wanted to fill you in a little bit on what has been going on. Today is a very symbolic date because it is 4 months since the beginning of the war, 4 months since the October 7 massacre, 4 months since 253 hostages were cruelly stolen from us, 4 months in which 132 of them are still trapped in Gaza. We know that 31, at least 31 of the hostages, including Adar Goldin and Oron Shaul from before the war, are dead, either killed in captivity or Hamas killed them on October 7th and took their bodies. And time is running out to get everyone else out. Time has already clearly run out for many of them. Last night, the Qatari mediators received Hamas's reply in the indirect negotiations for the release of the hostages. We have not said anything since updating that we have received that reply and are studying it. The Prime Minister is expected to give a press conference in about half an hour, so I'm going to have to hop off. And he will give an update on the latest developments. Hamas basically has two strategies in this war to try to survive the October 7 massacre and escape on its feet, and both of those strategies are absolutely horrific. The first is the Hamas human shield strategy. Hamas is trying to deliberately maximize humanitarian suffering in Gaza to generate international sympathy that will force Israel to end the war. That's why it spent 16 years deliberately redesigning Gaza in a way that hides its military infrastructure underneath civilian buildings, with a tunnel network 1.5 times the length of the New York subway, and tunnels poking out in schools, homes, hospitals, mosques, kindergartens, and UN facilities. Because one of three things will happen. Either Israel doesn't attack Hamas's military assets, and then they get immunity for their military assets, even though international law does not say that you have immunity for terrorists just because they are hiding in the basement of a hospital. Or Israel will strike and civilians will get hurt, and that will cause international outrage and pressure to stop the campaign. Or Israel will do the sensible thing, which is to ask civilians to temporarily evacuate for their safety, and then the international community will condemn Israel for forcible displacement, for urging them to get out of a war zone where Hamas is trying to use them as human shields. The goalposts keep moving. That is Hamas's first strategy. And the second strategy is to hold on to hostages, and try to use them as a bargaining card in order to end this war. And the Prime Minister has been very clear that we will do everything in our power to bring back the hostages, but this war must also end with the destruction of the Hamas terror regime, because otherwise it will do this again and again, and it will take more hostages, and next time it will demand an even bigger price. So Israel at the moment has no good choices, only bad options, and I'm glad that my job is to explain them rather than make those decisions, because we have only very bad and very difficult decisions and moral dilemmas ahead of us. Everyone in Israel is, of course, deeply concerned for the fate of the hostages. Just today, the IDF released footage from inside the Hamas terror dungeons, the barred cells that Hamas had built underground in order to hide both hostages and senior terror operatives so that it could use them as human shields, not only civilians in Gaza. but also the hostages and the really horrific conditions down there. So what I'd like to do now is, just after that very quick recap, and I don't want to say too much on that issue because the Prime Minister is going to speak imminently and render anything I might say no longer relevant. I'll take your questions, hear your concerns, and I'll try to fill you in wherever I can.
Thank you, Eylon. We appreciate your remarks. One quick question. I know that is on the minds of many people, is as the Israelis are facing this horrific threat from Gaza, as well as up north, what more can we do here in the States to join you and help you, our brothers and sisters in Israel?
First of all, the solidarity missions that are taking place are absolutely critical. They're critical because of what they actually contribute. This is a country that has 10% of the workforce in reserves right now. Tourism has dried up. Agricultural work has come to a halt. And so when people come on solidarity missions and book a hotel, pay for a bus, tip generously at a restaurant, help to pick avocados, come and embrace the hostage families, they're making a real direct contribution to the war effort and to keeping this country going and powering it through as our people are on the front lines in the military. But I think the solidarity missions do something more than that. I've spoken to so many solidarity missions from synagogues, youth movements, who say that they came in order to give strength, and they found that they left strengthened. And they will always remember where they were at this critical moment in history, that instead of trying to get on with their own business, they were here on the ground, being part of this, doing whatever they could. And those solidarity missions are really going to lay the groundwork for a lot of critical diaspora-Israel partnerships going forward, because they will be really formative, powerful, emotional experiences. And I hope that those solidarity missions will be the basis as well for people to go back home and talk about the hostages and wear the hostage dog tags and use them as an opportunity to trigger conversations with people and talk about what is happening to the hostages and what Hamas did on October 7th. The situation in the United States is really horrific, what has been happening with public opinion, especially among the youth. And I hope that these missions will give people an oomph and a sense of motivation and commitment to keep fighting for us and to keep fighting for your place within society as well.
Thank you for those remarks. One last question that I see has come up a few times is, in addition to whatever it is that we can do here in the States, what more can be done to support the communities that have been evacuated from the north as well as from the Israel envelope? What else can we do to help them?
Wow, that's an excellent question. I really don't know. I imagine that there are all sorts of civil society organizations in Israel that are trying to help displaced families, but I really don't know specifically to direct you to them. I had an extraordinary experience just 2 weeks ago. I was on the train from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv, and a woman came up to me and said, "Thank you for everything you do. I watch all of your Instagram videos," and then said that she'd landed in Israel from New Jersey with a suitcase full of diamonds and gold jewelry that she'd collected from her friends, and was giving them out to the women from displaced families and reservist wives. And I thought that was just the most adorable gesture that she had made. She also just wanted to help and didn't know what to do. I'm sure there are many organizations, but let's remember that the problem with the displaced families is not just the fact they're displaced, it's why they're displaced. Because in the South, at least, their homes were destroyed. And they are going to need a lot of support to rebuild the kibbutzim, literally rebuild homes and infrastructure and stronger, more resilient communities. So I would actually maybe suggest reaching out to specific communities, to the kibbutzim that were hardest hit, and asking them, what can we do? And I'm sure they'll be able to direct you to the right people.
And although that's exactly what JNF-USA has been doing since October 7th through today, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, regarding the $56 million that we've raised in our resilience campaign that we are targeting specifically for the communities and the people directly impacted. Because at JNF-USA, we were there before October 7th, working in these communities. We were there the day it happened, and we're there today, and we'll be there with them tomorrow. So thank you very much for your remarks. We hope we can call on you again to join us in the near future. Thank you. We now welcome back Nisan Zeevi, who serves as the Vice President of Margalit Startup City Galil in Kiryat Shimona, a critical part of JNF-USA's Go North initiative, attracting high-tech startups to Israel's north to boost the local economic development. Nisan and his family were evacuated for several months from their home to a hotel. In October, when we last spoke with Nisan, he reported that snipers from Lebanon shot out all the cameras on the security fence of Israel's north, and his unit was preparing for rockets and a possible ground invasion from Lebanon once the IDF moved into Gaza. Nisan, we are grateful to have you here again. Please update us on what's happening with you, your family, and the community, our brothers and sisters in the north.
Thank you so much, Joe, and hello, everyone. It's a great privilege for me to represent the resident of the Galilee. I think that we are in unprecedented time here at the northern border. While most of the people, most of the effort are going to the south, we can see that something dramatically happening right now in the north. So first of all, for the one that are not familiar with me, so my name is Nisan Zeevi. I live in Kibbutz Kfar Giladi, which is 800 meters from the border with Hezbollah, and right next to El Adesa. El Adesa, it's a Shia village controlled by Hezbollah. Most of the anti-tank rocket that have been shot to civilian targets came from this specific village. And after October 7th, since October 7th, I'm in a reserve duty already 124 days, but who counting? But much more important and much more difficult and complicated, it's the fact that my family, like another 68,000 people, have been evacuated from their house and living in refugees shelters. Okay, it was used to called hotel, but you are not feeling in a hotel after 124 days. You're feeling like in a refugee camp. And the situation here in the north is a little bit different from the south, because thank God it didn't happen here. We were sure that hours later, in October 7th, we're gonna have the same attack from the north by the Radwan forces. But I think that what bothered me the most is right now, it's of course that everything we did together with JNF-USA in the last 8 years regarding the economic development of the Galilee as the frontier of Israel, in a real crisis. You need to think about it that just a week before the October 7th, we were so moved from a report that have been published in the US that in the first time in our history, Kiryat Shmona was in the top 1,000 cities worldwide that have an attractive ecosystem for startups. And we built more than 75 startups that create more than 800 high salary jobs, which mean 800 families. People from all over the world, investors, private sector came here to meet this cluster that we built together in the last 8 years in the when the theme is food tech and agrotech. And since October 7th, the entire reality have been changed. And right now, we have two main challenges. One, it's to make sure that someone is taking care of our families. And it's a great opportunity for me to say to you guys, thank you so much. You know, I cannot describe the feeling of my wife, I'm just gonna speak in the name of my wife, to get a small box with all kinds of goodies from small businesses in Israel, donate by JNF member, and you know, it's something that fill our heart with proud in this partnership, and it's a great gesture that symbolizes that you care about every one of these people that have been evacuated from the northern border. Okay, because we are always the second one after they evacuated in the south, of course. The second thing that I can tell you, that even though Eylon said that there is a lot of damage in the south, unfortunately there is a lot of damage also in the north. Just to give you some numbers, 150 houses have been destroyed in Metula, 113 houses have been destroyed in Kibbutz Manara, and till now more than 500 houses have been destroyed. Israelis, resident of the Galil. And it's not exactly in the news, because in the news cycle, first you have the hostages, then you have Gaza, then you have the south, and only then the north. So it's important for me to emphasize that there is a real war here in the northern border. We are trying to help the startups that have been evacuated. They are all being, we found a temporary location for every one of them. Of course, it's becoming challenging because right now we are more than 4 months already. And some of these startups are now thinking not to go back, to move back to the Galil, because they don't know when, I'm sorry, and in what will be the reality here after the war. And so it's something that bother us a lot. We are afraid that a lot of the strong layer of the resident of the Galil will choose not to live here. You know, I have the opportunity to live in Herzliya, in Tel Aviv, wherever I want, but we choose to live here. And my concern that the strong layer will think, and some of them will move from the Galil, and we need to keep them here in the north. The young professional families that moved here because the wife or the husband found a job in one of the startups, and the Tel Chai College and the Migal Research Institute. So it's something that concerns us. I think that one of the things that really amazing about JNF-USA, that you know from the beginning you're thinking about the south and in the north. This is your main goal, and I think for us in the Galil, we have an historic opportunity right now, because after everything will be complete, and I'm not sure if it's good or bad, we will need to invest here hundreds of millions of shekels. We, meaning the government, okay? Right now, I know that they are close to approve 4 billion shekel budget dedicated to the north. Now, because you are one of the most strategic and dominant player in the north, I think it's something that we and you, as of course I see me as part of you, to think about the opportunities that it creates for us. Of course, that the economic development will be the biggest challenge here, and this is the way to bring back the people that have been evacuated. And I can tell you that right now there is a decision, it's not formal yet, but there is a decision to transform the Tel Chai College to a university, which is a big thing in Israel. Because once you're a university, you have like a 1 billion shekel budget for 3 years, and you can attract hundreds of researchers, which is strong families to this region. So, you know, you have big project here, like the medical center, like the culinary institute, like the food tech center, and many more. And I think that if we will look at the Galil as a place that now had the opportunity to scale up after the war, JNF will have a crucial part in the future of the Galil. I know that Russell and the rest of the team already thinking about how they can take this as an advantage. And I'm here with you. I'm part of you, and I'm sure that we will create a different realities than the one that we have right now. I need to emphasize that we are worried in the last couple of days from the message that coming from the Biden administration to Israel, and that pushing them to do another agreement with Hezbollah. And I need to tell you that the resident of the Galilee are very nervous about what they are hearing right now, because you all remember that in 2006, after the war in Lebanon, the UN Security Council made a declaration and a resolution, 1701 resolution, which determined that the land between the Lebanon border and the Litani River will be demilitarized from Hezbollah and other terror organizations. 17 years later, it didn't happen. They are on our fence with more weapons, with more equipment, and even though they put here the biggest peacekeeper force worldwide, the UNIFIL, with 12,000 soldiers, we saw that it didn't really affect. There was no effect on the ground, and right now, the U.S. and France are pushing Israel to agree that the Hezbollah will withdraw 7 kilometers from the border, and that's it, which is not even the 1701 resolution of the UN. And the reason why I emphasize it, because we all need to understand that you cannot withdraw Hezbollah. They live here. They live 800 meters from me. They will not leave the village. So we are really afraid that the same mistake that they did, that the government did in October 7th, in October 6th, for example, we will have the same. They will have the same mistakes here. So this is why we establish here one of the most interesting initiative right now in Israel. It's called Lobby 1701, which is a civilian organization, left, right, religious, non-religious, Arab, Druze, Western Galilee, Eastern Galilee, and I established it 2 months ago. We have already more than 15,000 members and we have one specific goal: to make sure that the government of Israel are not selling us another diplomatic agreement with Hezbollah, because it didn't work in 2006. No reason why it will work right now. But I think that what makes it so, from my perspective, a little bit optimistic, that it's for the first time, left and right, Western Galilee, Eastern Galilee, religious, non-religious, have one big common interest: security, to make sure that the security here is stable and they can bring back their families. So we see a lot of new bridges in the Galilee that we can take as an advantage in the day after for economic development and other things that we are doing here in the Galilee. And again, I didn't imagine that I will be 124 days in a reserve duty. I didn't imagine that my wife, that she's originally from Ramat HaSharon, will live in 15-meter square room in Kibbutz Ha'on with my 2 boys, 4 years old, 8 years old, and not allowed to come to their house. We lost a good friend 3 weeks ago, Barak from Kfar Yuval. He's in the Kitat Konenut Emergency Task Force, and anti-tank missile have been hit his house, and unfortunately he and his mother have been killed. So difficult days. We are strong. We know that one of the things that JNF built in the last 8 years in the Galilee, it's new leadership, civilian leadership. So there is a lot of people that from your normal day, that helping you to promote the project in the culinary and the medical, and now they are leading the Galilee and represent a lot of people that in a very challenging time right now here in the Galilee.
Well, thank you, Nisan. We appreciate you joining us again. Always know that we're here with you, your family, We're thinking of you. Stay safe, stay strong. Friends, it's hard to comprehend, as Nisan says, 124 days. It's hard to comprehend what it would feel like, as Nisan has been, to be relocated out of your home with your family, to live out of a hotel while trying to maintain your regular life. It's hard to comprehend what 124 days would feel like with your brothers, sisters, sons, daughters, neighbors, suddenly missing because they were called up to serve in the reserves. It's impossible to comprehend what 124 days of brutal captivity in Gaza feel like. But as you've heard, we must continue to use our voices and act on behalf of our family in Israel. We must remain strong and we must remain optimistic. In the first few weeks of this terrible war, JNF-USA raised nearly $1 million each day and $49.5 million as of January 1. In total, during these 124 days, we have raised $56 million. In these 124 days, 31,000 people have contributed to the Resilience Campaign for Israel, of which 21,000 are brand new donors to JNF-USA. When you think of the Jew hatred you see in life or on social media, think of these 21,000 people who've stepped up, shown their love for Zionism, and joined our campaign. JNF-USA is a 100-year-old organization, and 21,000 new supporters just made themselves known to us and joined us. These numbers are signs of strength, of resolve, and motivation to keep us pushing forward. All that you do, joining us here weekly, contributing to our campaign, makes an immediate impact on our family and our friends in Israel. As you can see in this slide, this shows how JNF-USA is dispersing the money raised in our resilience campaign and the direct impact your contributions are having in Israel. Thank you to each and every one of you for making this possible and for strengthening the people of Israel. Please visit jnf.org/support Israel to learn more and contribute. And don't forget, as Eylon mentioned, to visit Israel. Join one of our volunteer missions, which will be going on through August. They're sold out through March, but if you go to jnf.org/volunteer-IL, you can sign up with one of our missions through August and have, as many of the thousands of people who've gone have already had, life-changing experiences. Our next weekly briefing will be 1 week from today, Wednesday, February 14th at this time and with the same Zoom address. In the meantime, be safe, be strong. I'm Yisrael Chai.